Hey everyone, welcome back to Collecting Nolan. This is Russ, and it's that time of the week where we look at the highest selling Nolan Ryan cards on eBay. So let's go ahead and get started. Honorable mention. The honorable mention this week is the 2023 Topps Diamond Icons dual player autograph relic in a BGS 9.5 that was originally offered for $2,699. I'm including this card for two reasons. Number one, it has Shohei Ohtani on it, and if you didn't watch the Game 7 of the World Series, you missed the doozy. It was one of the greatest games I've ever watched and the best game I've seen in recent memory. Although Shohei didn't have a monumental night, he did contribute to the Dodgers' overall success in huge ways. It'll be interesting to see how these types of cards will perform over the next couple of weeks to months. The second reason I'm including this card is because it would have made the top 10 list, but I couldn't find the accepted offer on 130 Point. Number 10 is the 1969 New York Mets team issue photo in a PSA 8 that sold for $1,881 after 48 bids on ComC's eBay store. What a way to start off the episode. This team issue photo is very rare and very expensive in high grades. There are only 16 graded copies of this team photo in the wild, 4 PSA 8 graded copies, and only 3 cards graded higher, including 1 PSA 10 and 2 PSA 9s. There has been a PSA 9 copy of this photo available on eBay for a while for a very affordable $5,000 that I have been watching. But for that price, all I can do is watch and dream of having this photo. Maybe one day. With that being said, I could find no recent sales for comparison. Number 9 is the 1977 O-Pee-Chee number 65 and a PSA 9 that sold for $1,999 after 27 bids. Oh man, this is my favorite card of the 70s and is probably in the top 5 of all time for favorite Nolan Ryan cards. The close-up of Nolan with the facsimile signature just makes Nolan look so intimidating. Just a phenomenal card, and it's perfectly centered. There are only 373 graded copies of this card, which is unbelievable, and there are 23 PSA 9s and 0 PSA 10s. There are no recent sales for comparison. The most recent sale of a PSA 9 1977 O-Pee-Chee occurred on Fanatics Collect in May of 2020 for only $430. Unbelievable. Number 8 is the 1978 Topps number 400 and a PSA 9 that sold for $2,000. While I love almost all of Nolan's cards, the 70s are just so iconic to me. From the action shots of the 71 Topps to the pose shot of this card, they are just some of the greatest cards ever made. This card is of no exception with its excellent centering. There's another low population graded card with only 6,322 total graded. Of those, only 145 are graded as a PSA 9, and there are only 3 cards graded higher. I could find no recent sales of a PSA 9 across all markets for comparison, which just shows how tough this card is to get in an excellent grade. Number 7 is the 1974 Topps number 20 and a PSA 9 that sold for $2,150. Oh man, I think this is Nolan's most intimidating card ever made. He looks so menacing up there getting ready to throw a fastball high and tight, and it's coming right at the holder of the card. I love this card, and this one is a perfectly centered version of it. There are 238 PSA 9 copies of this card out there, with only 7 cards graded higher. Interestingly, this is one of the less graded cards of Nolan's, with only 7,680 graded copies out there. A similar card sold later in the week for $1,900 for comparison. Number 6 is the 1976 Topps number 330 and a PSA 9 that sold for $2,299.99 after 1 bid. This is such a nice example of the 76 Nolan. It's well centered and the colors just pop. There are 282 PSA 9 copies of this card out there, with only 11 cards graded higher. 1 card sold previous to this one for $2,100. Number 5. There was a two-way tie this week for the number 5 position. The first card in this position is the 1969 Topps number 533 in the PSA 8 that sold for $2,600. This 1969, like many of the 1969s, have a printing defect in the upper right-hand border. This defect does not appear to affect the grade. There are 898 PSA 8 copies of the 1969 Topps out there, and 188 cards grade higher. Two recent sales occurred on eBay last month. One sold for $2,551, and the other one sold for $2,650. The second card is the 1986 Topps number 100 in a PSA 10 that sold for $2,600. I couldn't verify this sale on 130 Point, but PSA's eBay store has it sold after only 5 bids. Out of the 6,305 total graded 1986 Topps, there are 119 PSA 10s for a gem mint rate of almost 2%. This card definitely presents like a 10 with its bright coloring and perfectly centered borders with no chipping. I love this card. I don't know if it's the way the blue of the sky contrasts with the orange Astros or what. It's just a beautiful card. The most recent sale of a PSA 10 copy of this card happened on Fanatics Collect back in September for $2,250. Number 4 is the 1972 Topps number 595 in a PSA 9 that sold for $4,300 after 7 bids. This card is a well-centered representation of the 72 Nolan. There are only 195 PSA 9 copies of this card out there and only 9 PSA 10s. There have been several recent sales of PSA 9 copies of the 72 Nolan. One sold on the low end in early October of this year for $3,900 on eBay, while the highest occurred in August of this year for $5,311, also on eBay. Number 3 is the 1981 O-Pee-Chee number 240 in a PSA 10 that sold for $4,928 after 42 bids. Alright, so for 1981 O-Pee-Chees, there are 2 variants that involve the back of the card. This is the white back variant. There's also a gray back variant, which I'm going to post above. As far as PSA labeling, if it is a white back, then it will appear like this with no designation. However, if it is a gray back, they will have quote unquote gray back printed below Nolan Ryan on the flip. The gray backs are harder to come by than the white backs. There are 14 PSA 10 copies of this card out there out of only 258 total graded cards for a gem mint rate of 5.4%. I don't know if these numbers combine both variants or not, but probably not. It probably only includes the white back variant. There have been no recent sales of an 81 O-Pee-Chee, with the most recent sale occurring in May of 2018 on Fanatics Collect for $865. That's almost a 6 times increase over 7.5 years. Not too shabby. Number 2 is the 2022 Topps Diamond Icons Nolan Ryan and Shohei Ohtani auto relic at a PSA 10 that sold for $5,000. This is a pretty sweet card featuring the Hall of Famer Nolan Ryan and arguably the most explosive player in baseball right now, Shohei Ohtani. 2022 Topps Diamond Icons was distributed in 10 card boxes containing 1 relic, 7 autographs, and 2 autograph relics. Nolan Ryan had 13 cards in the set, but this is the only dual auto relic featuring him. Each of these cards are numbered to 10, but there are red and gold parallels offered as well. The red is numbered to 5, while the gold is, of course, a 1-to-1. There are only 2 graded cards in the PSA database, and I could find no recent sales for comparison. And finally, number 1 is the 1968 Topps number 177 Jerry Koosman and Nolan Ryan rookie card in a PSA 9 with an off-center OC qualifier that sold for $5,695. Nolan's rookie is notoriously tough to get well centered, and sometimes PSA gives the OC qualifier on cards that I don't really see a big centering problem on, but this card definitely deserves the qualifier. There are 68 PSA 9s of the Ryan rookie out there with only 1 PSA 10. What I don't like about PSA is that they don't break the numbers down into qualifiers. Everyone that's been in the hobby for a while knows that a PSA 9 OC is not the same as a PSA 9. Previous sales of a PSA 9 OC have sold for $8,000 back in August of this year on eBay, and another sold on Fanatics Collect in April of this year for $3,960. So these prices on the 9 OCs are all over the place. And guys, that wraps it up for this week. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please let me know what you thought of all the sales and all the cards. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you at the next one. Thanks. Bye.